I want to go to Mr. Long first. Can you please elaborate on some of the issues facing the trucking industry today as far as workforce shortage and business expenses, as far as those are concerned?
Sure, I'd love to. We contend there is no shortage of drivers, which you've all been hearing there is. There's a turnover problem. That's because a lot of folks are unable to remain in the business. This is a typical reason why. Right now, as I mentioned, our testimony includes a story of a gentleman who owns a small business that's been in his family since the 1960s. And he was faced with the problem of whether or not to purchase new glider kits to remain in business or to exit the trucking industry altogether. And that was because he had purchased some new trucks with all the environmental technology included. And they were so unreliable that they were costing him tens of thousands of dollars a year. And not only in repairs, in lost productivity because they spent so much time in the shop getting work done. So he came up with the decision to purchase gliders as an alternative because they were much more reliable and he was capable of maintaining them better on his own. So I would say regulation as a whole is driving a lot of our members out of the industry. In this case, it's costs driving them out of the industry. Certainly every regulation comes with a cost, but in this one, it's taking away a reliable alternative option for them to purchase a new truck.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Belzer, I want to get to your brief but very informative testimony. You've suggested that there be more collaboration on a study. I was surprised that it was what I would call an extreme small-end study. What could have been done differently to produce a more transparency and eliminate what I view as bias? I mean, every time you have a study, if you're conducting the scientific method the way I was taught, you want to eliminate bias as much as possible. How would we do that here?
Well, I should first say I'm not an engineer, so I would hesitate to attempt to devise the protocol. But what needs to be done is a protocol needs to be agreed upon by EPA and the various different stakeholders in the industry. There should be a way of agreeing on how to do this properly. And that would include all the different elements of the test. And it doesn't sound like there's a great deal of controversy about what those would be. It would also include a sample size and a procedure for selecting trucks for the sampling. Remember, what you're doing is you're extrapolating to an entire industry from a very small sample. The opportunity for error, never mind bias, but opportunity for error is just very great. And a sample of 2 doesn't do it. No matter how well the 2 were collected or assembled, a sample of a dozen may not be enough. I'm not an expert in sampling theory and how to go about that. But I think that if they collaborate on the technology for the test, they collaborate on doing the test, they look over each other's shoulders, that's the way to get it done and make sure everybody's happy with it. Then you can go forward with it and use it for policy purposes.
Thank you. I'm going to